Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and this is another one of my Living Consciously videos. I have been fortunate to have had two very exciting events in my life. Very recently, I got to go to New York to personally see my first granddaughter, the second grandbaby in our side of the family. So I was just ecstatic. I mean, for Bob and I should say, and we were just so thrilled to have the announcement of her birth, which was July 10th. And interestingly enough, my bragging rights, I accurately predicted that she would be born on a Sunday. She was. July 10th was a Sunday. And I accurately predicted that the labor would be very short. And it was a 2.5 hour labor. In fact, both my son and daughter in law said that she was almost born in triage. So she came so rapidly, very, very, very alert, excited little. I mean, I shouldn't say excited. Her eyes are wide open, and it feels to me like she's taking the this whole experience in very rapidly, very quickly, and just being very uh, interested in what her surroundings are all about. So, anyway, and this was to me, this was a perfect segue to my topic for today, which is called Healing the Inner Child. And I know that from everything I have witnessed with my son and daughter in law, that they are terrific parents. They give their child, the Max, who is now 6 years old, Juno's brother, um, every opportunity to express himself and to tell them about how he feels about something. This is not the way most of us grew up. I feel, in my experience, um, the most that I can recall is don't feel that way. And like, don't feel bad. Don't cry. Don't feel that way. Well, the truth of the matter is, you feel what you feel. And if somebody is telling you not to feel that way, that can sometimes lead you to go into a rage. And a lot of times, in order to not be looked upon as a lunatic and to, not to frighten the people around you, you basically stuff your feelings back into your body. And I know from all the counseling that I have done that there has been a tremendous deficit in what children have experienced in terms of what their upbringing brought them and how their parents reacted to them. In some cases, I've had a number of people tell me I was the parent at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was the parent because their parents were so out of it. Or in other cases, maybe their parents were completely self absorbed and really had no interest in parenting or desire to parent. In some cases, especially where there was drug addiction or alcoholism, the child learned to always be on guard, to always look for symptoms of the parent flipping out, and to always have to worry about not being hit. not being attacked, whether it was verbally or whether it was physically, and and certainly emotionally went along with either of those because the parents literally just flipped out and almost, of course, if there was addiction involved, whether it's alcohol or drug, their ready excuse was, I didn't know I did it. I didn't know what I was doing. I grew up in a family where alcoholism was pretty rampant. Fortunately, my father never drank, and unless it was like once a year, a toast at Christmas or a special occasion like a birth or a wedding, a christening or a wedding, or First Holy Communion or something like that. But his father did, and so did his mother. And I think there was the stories were always hush hush, they were always whispered. As a child, I really didn't want to hear about them. I now wish I had listened more carefully and listened at all because of the fact that there were so many things that were said that were so, so important. And we just never got the opportunity to be there. Uh, I mean, to have them as adults when we were adults and ready to hear their stories, they weren't there. They were both dead. So, anyway, but what I'm going to give you is some techniques to help you with your inner children. And one of them, the one of the most important is to build a special home for your child. I know the first time I did this work, and when I was told to build a house just for my little girl, when I went in to check on her the next day, I found her sleeping under her bed. I had made a little home that was her size and a little bed that was exactly her size and everything. But somehow or other, she didn't feel safe in that bed. I never really discussed it with her, but I felt so saddened when I saw that she did not have the comfort level to sleep in her own bed. And I'm pretty sure I haven't done the analysis on this, but I'm pretty sure that the reason that this, my inner child, was not willing to sleep in her own bed was because she was used to a community bed. As when I was an inner child, when I was a little girl, I should say, there was no such thing as having your own bed or your own bedroom. That was not happening. And I was born in a very uh, poor village in Tomaszów Lubelski in Poland, and the sometimes up to four children slept in one bed, maybe even an adult or two in that bed. So anyway, that that's the one thing that I feel first and foremost is important for you to do. Build a home for your inner child. The second thing that I feel is to pay attention and talk to that little person that lives inside of you. Every once in a while, have a conversation with her or him and just ask what you need. Ask what you need about, hi, Tracy, um, about what to do with that, what to do for them. Because if you're parents, didn't give you what you needed, then you were probably in survival mode for most of your growing up years. And you couldn't take the time or the energy or even the knowledge that you wouldn't even have the knowledge that you needed to take care of this inner child. You now know it. And you know that there's so much more that you can do. You can talk to your inner child, you can be part of its life. So ask the inner child what it needs, and you will be amazed as to what the responses are. This is another simple technique. Take your inner child on a play date. You have a taste for ice cream? You wanna go to Dairy Queen, you wanna go to Baskin Robbins, wherever it is that appeals to you, you wanna walk in, the inner city, take your inner child with you and just recognize that that little person is accompanying you and is going and is waiting for you to acknowledge it. And as you have something that is there and you have something that is enjoyable, just know that on the etheric plane, so will she or he. They are able to replicate what it is that you imagine. And so by taking this little inner child on a play date, if you like to go to the art museums, if you like to go to Fashion Institute, wherever, to the park, to a swimming pool, wherever it is that you like to go to, acknowledge this little being with you and know that it is also getting refreshment and rejuvenation and revitalization from your experience and your acknowledging it. So take it on a play date. Now, this might sound a little bit silly, but it isn't. Take your inner child to work. One of the things that you have to make sure that you understand is that your inner child also has to understand that it survived. You survived. And it didn't matter what happened to you on the, at the time that you were being, in some cases, physically beaten to within an inch of your life, or mentally and emotionally beaten to a pulp. You survived. And this is your grown up version. And so, therefore, you can take it, the inner child, to work and show it what your accomplishments are. Like I said, it's absolutely incredible how many things you can do with this. You can teach it a new skill. You can take it with you. You can acknowledge it when you're cooking, baking, sewing, crafting, painting, anything that you're doing, gardening. You can tell it about the things that you love. They all probably had a seed. They were germinated in that little child when that little child was born. Many times you brought in the love of something with you from a past life. Yesterday, I did a reading for a French gal, and one of her last questions was, what was my immediate lifetime, immediate past life? She wanted to know, from to this lifetime, what she was in an immediate past life. So as I just kind of looked and saw what I saw in my mind's eye, was a baseball player from the very inception of baseball. And I'm pretty sure that the uniform, um, if they didn't change it, was a Boston Red Sox uniform because I saw the red and white stripes. And it was so intriguing. And then when I told her that I see her as a baseball player, she said, "You mean I could be a male?" And I said, "Absolutely. You can also be animal, vegetable, or mineral." So effectively, it's not only just being a male, it can be you have the right to choose whatever it is that you wish to experience. That's what the earthly journey is all about, experience. And in this case, she goes, "I love to play baseball. I don't like to watch it. It's boring, but I love to play it." And that, made such perfect sense to her when I said she was a baseball player in a previous lifetime, in her last immediate lifetime. So that made her very, very happy because she had, like I said, she had this immense love of baseball. This next thing that I'm going to say is maybe not as obvious as you might have experienced it. And I've had many, many people come up to me and say, I watch your video, I follow you, but I never watch it when you're presenting. I just, see it at when it's convenient for me. And I know that at sometimes I get 1,000 hits on the recording. And so it definitely is so worth it to me to continue following up with this. But this suggestion is to always treat your inner child with dignity and with respect. Because so many of the people that I have counseled over the years say that in one form or another, they were brutalized by their parents, or they won't talk about it. They absolutely won't talk about it. I just had an opportunity to meet somebody that I haven't seen in 40 years. And in the process of meeting him, since we share so many uh, common ancestors, um, he shared a little bit of what he experienced as a child, and it was brutal. I mean, he was traumatized to within an inch of his life. He was beaten. I had no idea. I just had no idea that this had happened to him. But the what you have to do is somehow or other get across to your people, to get across to your inner child that they have dignity and you have respect for them. However it is that you approach it, it really is critical that you convey this impression to them because you didn't get that as a little person. I can remember just one time where I don't know why I was doing it, but I remember standing in a broom closet, crying my heart out as I'm going to say 7 year old, 6 year old, 5 year old, um, just crying, just convulsively. And my uncle, one of my father's brothers, came in and started to open the closet door, started to unbuckle his belt and said, "Chcesz pasa?" which means, "Do you want to get belted?" I think back on that now, and I think, oh, because I was crying, he was threatening to belt me. It just, I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. But how many kids got a belt because of that? Because they dared to express their feelings. even their sorrow. So you just, I know that for me, counseling is one of the things that I love to do the most in this world because I've had such a wide range of experience, or I know of so many god awful things that have happened that I'm able to pull forward advice for these people. And I just give credit to God, to my guides, to my angels, archangels, ascended masters, ancestors for helping me with my work. Um, let's see, I think there was one more thing that there's one more thing that I wanted to share because I'm going to continue this talk on next week because next week I want to talk about healing birth trauma with your inner child. But also, next week, I'm going to go over St. Michael's technique that he gave me to help a young man when he was so brutalized by his father and grandfather that any healing energy that I gave him, it went into him and it went out of him. And I could see that. I could see that he wasn't retaining anything. Yes, he felt better temporarily for the moment, but he couldn't hold on to anything. So I asked St. Michael for a technique. I will go over that with you next week, as well as healing birth trauma. So I thank you for watching. I'm trying very hard to stick to around 20 minutes for these. I've been told to do them for 10 minutes. I've been told to do them for 3 minutes. Sorry, can't do it. So, anyway, I so appreciate you coming on board. And like I said, next week we'll go over healing birth trauma for the inner child and also St. Michael's advice. And in the event you want a meditation book, Own Your Power Day by Day, 365 meditations for clearing emotional, mental, spiritual blockages to becoming your higher self. Everything, every word in that was guided by spirit. Where I didn't change anything, where as I received it, where it stayed exactly the same, those sections are italicized. You only have to read 2 pages a day, so don't let the size of the book intimidate you. Available on my website, aliciajones.com. Alicia, ALICJA, Jones.com, or Amazon.com. Available in both places. The benefit getting it from me is that you will get a personalized message with your purchase. So, love to have you around. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you next week. Then again, I have a hiatus for 2 weeks. I'm gone, and I'll be back in September. In September, I'm only gone one Friday. The rest of the time, I'll be here. So I really bless you for being here, and I'm so grateful for your presence. Thank you. Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones,